Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am so happy to have some time with you today on this, well, if you're in Northern New Jersey, on this sunny Tuesday. So nice to have the snow be melting and spring kind of seeming like it's on its way. And excited for another great conversation today. We are kicking off our week with YWTV with someone who I consider a very dear friend. And it's an opportunity for us to share her story and really inspire you through her journey, which I personally am always very inspired by. I know so many of us tend to put so many limitations in our lives, and we think that this is who we are. Right now we're in the midst of our Women's Leadership Conference, where we've been talking about being unapologetically you. The reality of it is, you can change your route, you can change your life, you can create new dreams. You can do it at any time, at any age, and at any time in your life. All it really takes is setting your mind there and having your actions follow. And today's guest, Patty Baglivi, has done that over and over and over again in her life. And she has really, followed her passions, followed her interests, and created a path forward for herself. And she's such a great example, I think, for women about next chapters and, how, you can have so many different parts of yourself and develop them and embrace them. So with that, welcome, Patty Baglivi. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Helen. I'm so happy to be here.
So let me tell you folks about Patty. She grew up in Bergen County, and she started out her professional career as an attorney by trade. She spent her entire career as an attorney, right? Is that true? Your entire career as an attorney? Is that true, Patty? At the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office?
Correct.
Right. So she was there for she retired after 25 years of service to the people of Bergen County in that role. She also retired, achieving the rank of Deputy First Assistant Prosecutor. And during her time as a prosecutor, she tried hundreds of jury trials. And she was the chief of the Sex Crimes Unit, a Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit for, was it 8 years?
8 years.
And she also oversaw the Homicide Unit. And she,
no, actually, I didn't.
She didn't, but she did many key homicide cases, I should say.
Yes.
But she was very, active in the trial section, I would say, right before coming to sex crimes. I personally had the opportunity to work with her over the course of my career at the prosecutor's office, which is how I met Patty, and when she started inspiring me. I have to say, she stepped into places that a lot of women, as a prosecutor, that a lot of women were not. And she definitely broke barriers, and she created spaces for younger female prosecutors and, those of us at the prosecutor's office who were women, to really feel like that there were spaces for us because of the work she did and over her 25 years there to start. So that is one thing to tell you about her. But the whole other piece to tell you about her, and we're going to get her talking soon, is after she retired, she did an entire career shift. The entire time she worked at the prosecutor's office, we all knew that she had a lot of baking talents and a lot of cooking talents, because we were, occasionally the beneficiaries of something fabulous that she created. But when she retired, she opened a custom cake shop in Bogota. She always has been passionate about baking. She's always been a foodie. She comes from a long line of foodies. And because she had a small child at home, she wanted a career that gave her some flexibility and something that would put a smile on people's faces. And that's when she created her chapter. I don't know if it was 2, 3, 4, but her next chapter, which was Pattycakes and Cookies. So after 4 years of having her own shop in Bogota, the rent was escalating, and she decided to close the shop and concentrate on helping New Jersey kind of get to the present age and start a cottage food law, which finally was passed. But Patty was actively involved in helping home bakers be able to start businesses right again in their homes. So we'll talk a little bit about that and how she, pushed that through. What happened in October 2021, that New Jersey finally passed the cottage food law. And that's when Patty got all of her necessary paperwork, her permits, her insurance in place. And then she relaunched Pattycakes and Cookies just in time for holiday season 2021. She specializes in all types of cakes, cookies, and sweet treats, as well as breads, baguettes, rolls, bagels. I'm putting bagels in there too. We'll talk about her chickens. She now is legally able to bake and sell out of her home. So, Patty, wow, what does it feel like to hear all of that, like, put out in front of you?
It sounds like a lot, but it really wasn't. I just, I did what I wanted to do. I loved being a lawyer. That was my first passion, but cooking was pretty much right up there with it. And, but after 25 years of dealing with the dregs of society and crime and criminals, it takes a toll on you. And I was looking for a change, and I, wanted to retire, get my pension. But unfortunately, being a lawyer is a full-time job. And with a young child at home, because I did the career first, child second, having a small child at home, there's no such thing as a part-time attorney. So, people thought I was crazy. I had a law license and I was baking. So, but I love it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, well, and I can speak to the fact that, I personally have had your cakes, your cookies, your breads, your bagels. Just gave my mom one of your bagels this morning, actually, with her breakfast. Everything is so great and fresh and creative. And it really is amazing just to think about your two separate lives and, how they have kind of, culminated to where you are today to someone like me, because it does seem like an attorney mind and a baking mind seem very different to me, in terms of development.
Well, they are, but I never thought I was really creative. But when I was an attorney, I realized, I was creative, because you had to always, I tried hundreds of jury trials. So you have to sell your story, sell the facts to a jury. You have to craft it in a way that they could understand, that they could relate to. And I feel like baking is the same kind of thing. I can't draw to save my life, and I don't feel like I'm artistic, but yet again, I can craft something. Somebody gives me an idea of a cake, and I can craft it into something. So I feel like it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's such an interesting connection that you just made there. And I appreciate you doing that, because as you know, we created YWTV to help inspire women in our community. And they may not be thinking that, where they are has the potential, to kind of tease out some of the skills that they're using and put them in such a totally different arena and still be successful. And the reality of it is, creative is different for everybody, what that looks like. So I love that you're, helping us think about the fact that maybe, you don't see yourself as someone who can draw, but then you make these beautiful, beautiful pieces of art, quite frankly, in the cookies and the cakes, that you create. So talk with us a little bit about that actual transition. You obviously, it's been 25 years, as a prosecutor. You went through the ranks. And again, when you were doing it, there were not a lot of women pushing through to the top of the ranks. I'm happy to say, we're seeing a different landscape today. There are so many, women leaders now, or more women leaders, I should say, than we had seen, back when we were both in the office, and especially, when you started in the office. But, you were at the core of pushing that, for women in Bergen County. You really created that space for so many women. Can you talk about what that process was like, kind of, getting there? And then also kind of having that moment of thinking about starting a new business simultaneous, because you were juggling, again, you shared, you did, have a daughter later, you focused on the career, you brought your daughter, your brilliant, beautiful, smart, fierce daughter into the world. And then, you switched into a whole different place. And those aren't necessarily like the business skills, the entrepreneurial skills are different than the prosecutor skills and the attorney skills.
When I started in the prosecutor's office, it was the early 80s, and there were very, very few females in the office as assistant prosecutors. Obviously, a lot of support staff was female. There were no women really in any kind of supervisory roles. And you really had to be tough, because I had men telling me, well, if I were hiring, I wouldn't hire a woman. You don't belong here, because you were dealing with, like I said, the dregs of society. I mean, it didn't bother me. I didn't think it did, but it would be hard for some people, not just women, even men. I mean, men can keel over in an autopsy. It's not based on what sex you are, but it was difficult. But I put my nose to the grindstone, and I worked hard, and I proved myself. I was not afraid to try cases. I got a reputation with the defense attorneys of being extremely tough, because I felt if you didn't want to take my plea bargain, then we're going to trial, and I'll take my chances. Unfortunately, I don't necessarily see that today. It seems like everything is disposed of by plea bargaining, which is not a bad thing, but there are many cases, and especially in sex crimes, where cases needed to be tried. And like I said, I built a reputation. When I retired, they threw a party for me, and there were mostly defense attorneys there, because I think they really wanted to make sure I was leaving, because I had a reputation of being a hard nose. But as you said, times have changed, and it's wonderful to see so many women in positions of authority in the office. And I still stay in touch with people. The prosecutor's a friend of mine. And he's really been doing a lot to promote women in the office, and I think it's great. But I just, the laws, the rules regarding pensions were changing with the governor in place at the time when I retired, and I could see the writing on the wall. They were starting to make you pay for part of your medical. I was able to retire with full medical, not paying a penny towards it. And so when 25 years hit, I decided to leave. But I am not a person to sit around and do nothing. And even though I had a small child, I sat home for a year with her, and she was going off to pre-K. And I said, I can't sit here doing nothing. What do I love to do besides being an attorney? And the answer was very easy. I love to bake.
So again, I was kind of along for the ride of part of your career. So I really just know how you broke barriers for so many. And I also know how you were, so respected in the courtroom, for, all you brought to it. So for anyone then who's thinking about making such a dramatic career shift, which is, really in my mind, what you did, again, baking and cooking was clearly a passion, we all knew that, because again, every now and then you'd show up with something amazing, or, have a party, and, we would get to enjoy it. So we knew you had that talent, but that's really different from starting a business. Fast forward to this space, which I had visited in Bogota, that you had set up for your an industrial cooking kitchen, and starting to make cakes. What mindset, how did you have to put, what thinking, what setup from an entrepreneur's perspective, what did you have to do to prepare to move from that one space, and then that time that you were home with your daughter, to then jumping into this other space that was so radically different?
It was difficult to start up, because obviously we were the only state in the whole United States without a cottage food law. Most states had some kind of a law, and we had been pushing this law for over 10 years, and we weren't getting anywhere. So I'm a very research-oriented person. I looked into all the rules and laws. I reached out to real estate agents about renting a commercial kitchen. I checked with the health departments in different towns. So I did a lot of research in terms of what did I need to do to have this commercial kitchen, since I wasn't allowed to do it out of my home. And I know plenty of people that were doing it out of their homes, but I spent my whole life enforcing the law and following the law, and I wasn't about to break the law. So, I just did a lot of research, and I hooked up with another baker, and we agreed to share the space. We were two separate companies, but we shared the rent. But as you know, in Bergen County, the rents are astronomical, and you have downtimes with baking. It's not, there's the wedding season, the holidays and everything, but there's a lot of times, like at the dead of summer, where there's no orders coming in and you're paying rent and utilities on a space that's not being used. So after 4 years of really not making a lot of money, I decided to, close up, concentrate on, I also like to teach. And so I started teaching, actually. I started teaching at my local grammar school as a substitute teacher. And then I had an opportunity to be an adjunct professor at Fairleigh Dickinson University, teaching some criminal law, which again is my passion. And all that time while I was teaching, after I closed up Pattycakes, I still worked with a group of wonderful, wonderful people trying to push this law through. Writing letters, calling my local state senators, making a pest of myself. I knew some of the state senators from my work as a prosecutor. So I tried to play on that and use those connections and call these people and urge them, to get this law passed. As I said, we over 10 years trying to get the law passed.
And what I love about what you're sharing, because so many entrepreneurs kind of get stuck at kind of starting on a path and then it not working and then seeing that as failure and then kind of, packing it up. You didn't do that. You started down a path with the industrial kitchen. It didn't, obviously it was challenging because of, as you're sharing, financially, there were times of the year that, made it difficult to be able to keep the rent in place. But you didn't lose hope. You kind of put another plan in place and then refocused your energy to, create an environment that would allow you to go back to doing what you wanted. That's hard for a lot of people to stay positive and concrete, on ways to stay their path for their goal. If you're talking to entrepreneurs that, they're trying and it seems to have failed, how would you encourage them to, stay on the path like you did and kind of, keep figuring it out if that's your passion and dream?
Well, I mean, me, I'm very stubborn and I don't take no for an answer. And we just kept working. That, as I said, that group of people, they were, they decided finally to file a lawsuit. We kicked in money. I just kept going at it. I didn't get anywhere with the state senator. So I would wait a few months and I would call back, I'd like to meet with you and talk about it. I don't take no for an answer. I'm stubborn. I just kept going at it. And many times it seemed very futile, which is additionally why I probably started substitute teaching, because I needed to do something. But again, always in the back of my mind, don't give up, keep pushing. 49 states have a law in place. New Jersey eventually will see, the reasoning behind it. I mean, it didn't make any sense. People were doing it illegally and the state was losing a lot of tax money. We don't tax certain goods that you sell out of your home, baked goods. Certain goods are like candy, but other things aren't. But the point was, your earnings weren't being taxed because people were doing it under the radar. So the state was losing a lot of money, and yet I just kept hammering that. A lot of people took a different position. The women and men that were fighting this situation took a different tact. I took that one. You're losing money, people. The state needs the money. Our taxes are so high. If you legalize this, then people will have to file their taxes on their earnings. You'll get a portion of it. You put into place. I mean, obviously now we have a law and you have to pay for the permit. So the state's getting their money. And like I said, I didn't take no for an answer. I just didn't give up.
Well, you definitely had that reputation as a prosecutor. You definitely carried that through in your advocacy for getting this legislation passed with the team that you worked with. But I can appreciate that, one of the things you just shared, and I just want to make sure to call it out to our viewers to be thinking about, is that you worked with a group of people, like a network, and that you banded together for a common goal, to push forward. And at the end of the day, we know when we stand together on a focused area, we definitely have strength. And here it is. The legislation was passed in October. We now are the last holdout, as you said, in the whole country, for this to exist. And now we have it here. And the reality of it is, you this legislation has allowed for so many women, to be able to start their own businesses, to start a side hustle, move a side hustle to the main hustle. You have opened up opportunities, economic opportunities for women, bakers everywhere for sure, but definitely for women. And we know women are, in the position that you are, that you were, those years ago with your daughter, as an infant, wanting to be more present, wanting to be more flexible, wanting to be around, but still wanting to be able to create strong and steady income. So that's part of the reason why I'm always so inspired by your story, is that, you made such a radical shift, but you also, stopped, but kept focused, on your end goal, which I just think is so inspirational. So let's get down to the good stuff. Oh, wait,
Oh, wait, I wanted to say one other thing, just because we've been talking about bakers, and it really was a group of bakers that started the organization to push the law. But it's not just baked goods. The new law allows people, and you'd be surprised about the amount of men that are involved too. But it's not just baked goods. It's also, you can do dried herbs and seasonings. You can do dried pasta, which is something I also make. I'm not going to probably sell it because I just would have to sell it for too much. It takes too long. So I do it for my family. But fruit jams, you can jar jams and sell them. You can do popcorn, caramel popcorn, those kinds of things. Roasted coffee and teas, vinegar and mustards, honey, granola, nuts. So it's not just baked goods. This law, if anyone is interested in looking at the law, it's codified in NJAC 8:24-1 et sec. And you can read about it, or just Google New Jersey cottage food law, and you'll see all the different things. It's not just baked goods. So the baked goods women, it was mostly women that started this, really opened the door for so many other entrepreneurs to, not just, you don't have to bake cakes and cookies. You could do, jams and jellies.
Yeah. Well, thank you for broadening our view on this, and broadening my view on this, to know that, again, it really opens up so many opportunities for anyone who wants to think about, getting into the space now that this law has been passed. But I do want to get into the good stuff because, again, I know personally that it's good stuff. My kids are fans as well. And I know anyone who's going to get to try them will be. And for our viewers, we have the link here to Patty's website so that you can connect to her. You can follow her on social media. She has a Facebook page, she has an Instagram page, and you can stay connected to all her creative, tasty treats that she's making. So let's talk treats. Let's talk your breads. So how did you come up with what you were going to offer, as you now relaunched the business? What is the focus of your business, and how did you settle on, what you're sharing with all your customers?
Well, my focus, unfortunately, seems to be all over the place. When I started many years ago, I was always baking cakes. And I still do cakes, but cookies seem to be more profitable. Cookies seem to be a big seller, especially around the holidays. So when I relaunched in October, I obviously had cakes and cookies because that's what I had mostly pictures of, stuff that I had done previously. But during the pandemic, when we were all shut down and, you were getting your groceries delivered and you weren't going out. And when you did go out, there was nothing on the shelves. There was no breads or anything. So I started making bread. And I would make it for the neighbors, and everyone's like, oh my God, this is so good. I mean, I know we have a lot of great bread in northern New Jersey, but I love my good Italian bread, and to get in the car and drive somewhere is a pain. Or, Saturday morning, somebody wants a bagel. I'm not getting in the car. I'm still in my pajamas. So I started during the pandemic making breads, and I hooked up with a group in Hackensack, 2 teachers that were doing food deliveries to people that really needed help. And so I reached out to them and I said, could I donate bread? And they said, great. So I started making 40 and 50 loaves a week to deliver to the food organizations so they could give it to other people. And the feedback I got was great because some of the recipients of the food said, oh, and it was so nice to get that bakery bag with that loaf of bread. It made it seem, so much more personal. So that made me feel so good. And like I said, I got the feedback was great. So then I decided to add breads and bagels and sweetbreads to my repertoire. And like I said, was going to do pasta, but I timed myself. Obviously, the ingredients are only flour and water. It's not an expensive item to make, but it takes so long that I'm not so sure, price per pound would really work out.
Well, I can, as I said, attest to the breads, the cookies, the cakes, all of it. And it's funny that we're talking today, as because for you and I, for transparency, as I said, I've known Patty a very long time through all of this kind of career journey, because we worked together at the prosecutor's office. When I was pregnant with my twins, Patty was at my shower, and her gift to me was the very, very beautiful cake that she made, which I, really should have dropped a picture in here for all of you. Maybe I'll put it in the comments so people can see. She made a beautiful cake that looked like a Greek church. And she put two little twin babies right at the door of the church. And the best part of the cake was not only that it was stunning, but that it was delicious, which I think is key for a lot of these cakes. Some of them look good, but they don't taste good.
Right.
Your stuff tastes good. And it really was, such a beautiful gift, and, just something that to this day everybody talks about. And then she also went on to make my kid's first birthday cake. And now they're getting ready to celebrate their 9th birthday this week on St. Patrick's Day, which is, the day they were born. And, it's nice to have Patty back in our lives baking for them again. So where do you get, you said you don't feel like you're a creative person, but from a cake perspective, and even from the cookies that you've created, really they're creative. Can you show us some of them? I know. Let's see what you've got there. There's so nice. And let me tell you how good those are, folks.
This is just for an order. She wanted some simple St. Patrick's Day cookies to go to a party with. So I just did a couple of, shamrocks, whatever. Where do I get my inspiration? I mean, people sometimes will try to tell me what they want. Like I said, I'm a big researcher. I guess it comes from being a lawyer. So I'll go online, I'll Google different things. I'll try to, come up with something, and I'm good at borrowing other people's ideas and making it my own. There's no sense reinventing the wheel.
Agreed. So what do you have in store for, I know we've got some, holidays approaching. I know we're getting, you showed us some of these great cookies that you've got for St. Patrick's Day. I know we've got Easter coming. What's in mind?
I've got a lot of Easter things ready to go. I'm going to put my Easter pre-sales up probably on Saturday. I'm just waiting for St. Patrick's Day to be over, because I find that offering about a couple of different things for Easter works much better. So like I had this cookie cutter made. Can anybody figure out what this is going to be? I have that, and it goes with these two little cookie cutters. And it's going to be a tic-tac-toe Easter cookie cutter set. So the kids can actually play tic-tac-toe on their cookies, and then they eat them. I'm also going to do what we call PYOs, which are paint your owns. So I will flood the cookie and then draw a design on it, and then give you a paint palette with some paintbrushes, obviously edible paint, and children or even adults can paint their own cookies. I also have some, again, sorry. This is a bunny nameplate. So what I'll do is, do the bunny up here, and then down here, somebody could put their name. And it's kind of like I'm doing this for my dinner table on Easter Sunday. Everyone's name will be on their cookie, and it'll be on their plate, so they know where to sit. Kind of like a seating chart.
Yep.
So I can personalize these. It can be, any name, or it can just be like Happy Easter. So I have a couple different offerings. I also have a carrot cake, a 6-inch carrot cake that I'm going to be offering, because I have an old family recipe that everyone, even in the courthouse, always used to love that. Somebody used to say to me, I don't eat carrot cake, but I will eat yours. So, but that's what I have planned. I had made everything the past couple of weeks to take pictures. And then, of course, I gave them out to my neighbors to eat. And this way I have pictures of the finished product to post, and then people will order, and everything will be made special order. using my eggs from my backyard.
So, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but for special order, where do people find the forms to do a special order? Because I know obviously you're preparing for Easter, but year round you can get you can get anything. You can get cakes, special cookies, you can get breads, cinnamon rolls. I mean, it's all good, but how do we get them year round?
On my website at mycustombakes.com/pattycakes and cookies. There'll be an order form on there. I deliver for a fee, but pickup is free. You'll pick a time that you want to pick up. There's certain times that will pick up, and everything is all on the website. It's very easy to order. It's very easy to message me if you want something different. Whatever, it's all there. You pay through the website. Credit cards or Venmo or PayPal or Zelle, whatever you want to use. So it's all right there in the website with pictures of all the offerings. And like I said, right now, if you go on the website, you won't see the Easter stuff. They'll be posted on Saturday.
Great. And again, I'd encourage everyone to be following Pattycakes and Cookies on social media, because you will see the sneak peeks of what's coming. I know I get excited when I see what's coming, so I can get in my head, what to order and plan over here. So before we close out, we definitely have to talk about the chickens. So tell us about the eggs. Tell us about the eggs, because I think that is part of what separates Pattycakes and Cookies from some others, is that not only is it made with your tender loving care, but it's also made with your own eggs.
Right. I believe in quality ingredients because, like you said, sometimes these cakes look beautiful and they taste horrible. I don't buy cheap flour. I buy King Arthur flour. I buy Kerrygold butter. And now that I have chickens, actually my daughter has chickens in the backyard. She wanted a pet. I didn't want pets in the house because, number one, that's an issue with cottage food laws too. Keeping your house, pet free, in terms of making items that you're selling. So 2 years ago, I said, all right, if you want chickens, you can have chickens. And we have chickens in our backyard and we use the eggs. She gets the pets and I get the fresh eggs. So in fact, when we get off this interview, when we finish this interview, I'm going to go in the back, collect some eggs because I am going to make some French macaroons this afternoon. And I need some egg whites and they'll be nice and fresh. So we have, at one point we had 8 chickens. Unfortunately, one turned out to be a rooster. So we had to send the pair away to a farm. We were down to 6. Then we lost one about a month ago. And now we just added 2 new ones to the flock, but they're only 6 weeks old, so they're not laying yet. But we have 5 laying, and we average about 4 eggs a day, so plenty to bake with.
Well, I see a whole new YWTV show. We've got to get Lana on also. We've got to get Stephanie on, who's part of our team, and talk chickens. I think to our YWTV team, I think we've got a show. But Patty, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I also have to thank you on behalf of YWCA Northern New Jersey of your generosity in supporting us over the years. I mean, you've made so many beautiful cookies for Denim Day, for our Healing Space program. I know because of your work at the prosecutor's office, you have an understanding of the work that our Healing Space, our sexual violence program does. And you've always been so supportive of, creating and, supporting them, using your skills to, raise money and raise awareness for our work. And, a few years back, you even came and spoke to our girls about, your career. And here you are again, inspiring us. So we're so grateful that you always support, the work that we're doing in the community. And we're so happy to see, this new chapter for Pattycakes and Cookies, and look forward to seeing what comes next.
Thank you, Helen. It was a pleasure. It was really a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And I hope you'll invite me back.
I will definitely invite you back. And folks, Patty actually watches YWTV on a regular basis. She's one of
I'm home baking, so I need, I turn it on in the background, and you've had some great inspirational women, which is why I'm kind of surprised you had me on. But, you have great women on.
You included, it's been such a gift to have all of these conversations. And I know, and I actually heard from another woman yesterday about how inspired she is by the women we have on the show. So I'm just so grateful that everyone is open to sharing, and love that people are listening, and that it's helping, helping us all, just think different, which is sometimes all we need to, get ourselves on a different, healthier path for sure. So with that, we hope that you join us on Friday. Another great conversation is ahead. I mean, talk about another powerhouse. And so we'll be talking with Jennifer Polidori then. And, she's another one. She's always inspiring women, pulling them together and doing good. So I can't wait to share her story. It's not too late. You can join us for this week's installment of our Women's Leadership Conference. We've been having these conversations weekly virtually. Since we're kind of slowly getting back into getting together, we're still offering our conference through Zoom. You can join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. for a great conversation with Cheryl Walker Robertson. Again, our topic is being unapologetically you, and she's going to focus on, just really standing in our space and how to make sure that you present yourself from a branding perspective. There is no charge for our Women's Leadership Conference. We've had 2 great conversations with Dee Marshall and also with Mia Ali. And so we have Cheryl this week, and next week we have another great conversation also with Cindy Myers from Ridgewood Moving. So please sign up. We'll drop the links here so you can join us. And, summer camp time, all of our great senior wellness programs, some great stuff going on for girls in our community. It's all accessible on our website and also, easy to access by, following us on social media. Everyone have a wonderful day. Patty, keep baking. I'm going to keep eating and I'll have my Easter order in soon.
Okay. Thanks, Helen.
Everyone have a great day. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.